I was fascinated about the concept of being competitive against being collaborative. And there's so many not only filmmakers but screenwriters out there who have this kind of dog eat dog
Oh,
mentality
yes.
when they're trying to just like, I gotta undercut that guy, or that girl's gonna, I'm in competition with Aaron Sorkin. I'm like, no, you're not. So stop. Uh,
Yes.
you're not. What do you have to say about that? What advice can you give screenwriters and filmmakers who are this kind of dog eat dog
This is
competition?
an amazing collaborative business. And if you have that sense of competition, work at getting over it. Now, when I started, I had that sense. And anytime someone came along or someone said, gee, they're just a great seminar leader, and I go, are they better than me? Or that was a great script consultant. And every time that happened, I just said, I don't want to do this. I do not want to spend my life feeling competitive with people. So I don't have competitors, I have colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
And we have worked really hard since I'd say the late 1980s to come together. So most of my colleagues, I know them, I have good relationships with them. Some of them I'm very dear friends with. But the thing when you're collaborative is that you feed each other, which simply opens up your business. So I endorse other people's books, they endorse my book. My certain colleagues get me jobs, I get them jobs. We, we really, and we talk about things. Sometimes we have to talk about a contract. Sometimes we'll talk about maybe a problem we're having with a client, and you call and you say, "How do I handle this?" And I have well, one of mine, when if I ever get sort of caught up in that junky stuff that we sometimes get caught up in.
Mm-hmm.
And Pamela J. Smith, who's a mythologist and script consultant also, she says, honey, don't get none of that on you. And she sets me straight. And sometimes, she'll say, leave this one alone. And other times she says, no, this has to be addressed. And let's work together on the email or how we're going to address this, because it's important for the industry to address certain things. So I think that's another thing. I have what I call my confidants. And when I'm not sure about something, I say, okay, how do I handle this? I don't think I'm not handling it well, or I have a feeling I'm not going to handle it well unless I talk to you. So we really need each other, and that begins to feed everything out and ripple outwards. I wrote a book about this. It's not a screenwriting book, but it's called The Better Way to Win, The Better Way to Win, Connecting, Not Competing for Success.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it as a master's degree I have an MA in feminist theology among these other degrees. And so I was interested, how do you move from one model of thinking to another when you've grown up and thinking of other people in your field as competition? And it took me a long time to get over that. But my intention was, I do not want to live my life this way. It just eats you away, and you can't appreciate other people, and like, who's number one in the world? Oh, forget it.
I
It's,
mean,
it's just
but don't you agree that, I mean, I always, because and even in my world where I'm online, being an online influencer, if you will, in the filmmaking and screenwriting space with Indie Film Hustle and Bulletproof Screenplay, I get colleagues of mine who are also in this space who think of me a lot of times as competition, and I always tell people I don't have competition, because there is nobody that can compete with me, because it's like me trying to compete with Chris Nolan. Like,
yeah,
Chris Nolan is
you're
Chris
yourself.
Nolan. He has a flavor in his movies. I have a flavor in mine. Maybe that's not a good example because he's at a different level than
No,
I am. But no, but just even colleagues is like, there's only one Linda Seeger. Like,
yeah.
there's a Michael Haig, there's a Chris Vogler, there's a John Truby. All these guys have very different flavors and are presenting ideas just through their own filter. And it's just, you can't really compete at that point. And some people like,
Because you
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because you want to be authentic not only as a human being, but in your work. And you say, my work is an expression of me. And so there isn't anyone else that does things the way that I do it.